So hello YouTube and welcome to this video. Today we are going to be doing a massive book haul and unboxing. Now I'm not normally one to do book hauls and I'm hoping to not do one again because I feel like when I buy bulk books I just try and rush through and read everything and I don't actually get to enjoy things, and I'd much rather have a zero TBR pile and just be able to go to the store and buy the book that I want to read. That is my goal for this year and we'll see how it goes. But the reason I have such a big book haul is because it's actually over 3 sections. So over here I have all the books I bought in America / Barnes & Noble, and then behind me I have 2 unboxings for the Paid Habit book box, which I am so excited to be part of. And then over here I have books which have been given to me by an amazing friend who's also a booktuber. Her booktube is Books From My Veins and I'll leave a link down in the description. So as I said, I'm not really a book hauler, but I really just wanted to show you guys these fantastic titles which I've collected over my time in America and packages coming while I'm in America and as such, and I kind of got overwhelmed by the beauty of Barnes & Noble while I was over there. So everyone who lives in America where you have access to Barnes & Noble, you're really lucky, because in Australia we have a bookshop called Dymocks, which I love as well, but our books are a little more expensive, so we don't get to just do crazy book hauls like you guys do in America, because everything's just a little bit pricier. So where I could get 5 books from Barnes & Noble, the same price I could probably get 3 from Dymocks, and that's not Dymocks' fault, that's just Australian economy. But anyway, time to get into the book haul. The first selection I want to show you are books which I collected in my time over America. I did 2 separate book trips to Barnes & Noble, and I was originally only going to buy 5 books in my entire 10 weeks over there, but I went to Barnes & Noble a second time and things kind of got out of control. Luckily I got most of them home. So my first book is actually one which I was just given it in our donation pile at work, which is from Nicholas Sparks, and it's called 2x2. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm excited to read another Nicholas Sparks book because I read A Walk to Remember and I've watched, all the movies like The Notebook, and I really love the romance and everything which he puts into his stories, and he writes so well. So I'm looking forward to this nice contemporary. The next book I have here is called Being a Dog, and it is a non-fiction about the jobs of dogs and how being a dog works. And if you had seen my last book review, which is on A Dog's Purpose, I absolutely love dogs and I'm super excited to read this non-fiction and learn a little more about my lovable friends. This book is by Alexandra Horwitz, and I'm ready to get started on this one after I finish the book I'm currently reading. One thing I love about Barnes & Noble is that they have a really cheap collection of beautiful cloth-bound and foiled edge books. So this one is still in its wrapping, but I decided I had to get at least one, even though they're heavy and hard to bring home with a flight with limited luggage. But I ended up getting 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and the reason I got this book is because I had read All the Light We Cannot See, and the main character talks a lot about this book and why she loves it so much. So I really wanted to read it and just have a look at the beautiful cover, which you can get from the Barnes & Noble Collector's Edition, which I can't get at home here in Australia. So I picked that up and that was only $10 US, so that was a really good bargain for me. The next 2 books in this book haul are actually connected. Both of them are by Sarah J Maas, and the first one I was really excited to find a signed copy of Sarah J Maas's book, which is Tower of Dawn, which is a spin-off of the series which is Throne of Glass. I really love Selena Saradotian and all of the stories there, but this follows Cole, which is her first love interest, and I absolutely fell in love with this story. I really hope that this turns into a series of its own because it is just beautiful, and I just flew through this book and really loved it. Connected to this book, I also finally picked my hands on the novella series, which is also connected to the Throne of Glass series, which is The Assassin's Blade, again by Sarah J Maas. I really loved reading this too and getting a bit of a backstory into the assassin life of Selena, because obviously if you've read the series, she has a lot of progression and moves away from being an assassin into much more magical domain. So it's nice to go back to the original hardcore character that we had in the start of the series and see where her roots lie. Now, I had just mentioned this when I was talking about my other dog book, but A Dog's Purpose, I picked this up. It was only, I think, $5 in Barnes & Noble, which was an absolute bargain, and I'd watched the movie, fell in love with it, had to read the book. The book is better, as always, and I really loved it. So this is by W. Bruce Cameron, and I've actually done a review of this already, which I will leave down in the comments. A lot of these books I've actually already read because I was reading them while I was in America, but this was definitely one of my favourites because I'm a dog lover and this just like melts your heart. The next book which I have is actually a recommendation I had from a friend, and not a classic but a well-known book which is used academically for high schools, which I really should have read already or watched the movie, but I hadn't, and that is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne? I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Wow, this is such an interesting tale talking about Nazi Germany and the camps which were there, and all through a child's perspective, so really going from a perspective of innocence, and it's really emotional because you just feel for the kid because he doesn't understand what's going on, and obviously there's a twist at the end of the story if you know it, and it's such a short read. I read it in I think 2 sittings, and definitely want to read more like this. I really like, I know this sounds a little bit bad, but I really like books set in Nazi Germany because it's such a high emotional time and it's got a lot of political intrigue, and I kind of want to understand why things get to that point and like what was going on inside people's heads. So this was a really good example of that. So if you haven't read this, if you haven't been forced to read this for school, I would highly recommend reading it. It's such a short read and I absolutely adored reading it, and I'll read it again in 2 seconds. My next pick is actually Eligible, which I've also put a video up already for, and that is from my 24-hour travel readathon where I was reading this book. This book I actually got in a blind date with a book from Asheville, a city in North Carolina. I got it from Independent Bookstore, which is actually where I got this awesome t-shirt which says Eat, Sleep, Read. And it actually has like this little sticker which came with it, which I kept, which says I bought this at my independent bookstore, and it's just a great reminder to actually support your independent bookstore and give them some love too. So even though I bought a bunch of books at Barnes & Noble because they were cheap, I still loved going into all the independent bookstores in America because they were so cute. This story is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it was really cool. What was great is by the time I got to unwrap this book, I was in Cincinnati in Ohio, and this book is based in Cincinnati, Ohio, so it was absolutely fantastic, and just fates that I got to read this book in the city that it was based before finishing it off when I was flying home. I would recommend this book, although I haven't read the original Pride and Prejudice. I felt that it was really interesting and very gossip and worldly, I guess, so it gives you a perspective into like romantic lives of older people who have yet to find their true love, which I found really intriguing because instead of the normal young adult fiction which you'd read where people are finding their first love, this is going through people who have had experience with positive and negative sides of love and finally meeting their person. So yeah, that was a good one. Then the last book I have physically here from America is by Jojo Moyes, and it is After You, which is the second book in the series to Me Before You, which is a movie which is really beautiful. Basically the first book goes that this girl, which is the main character in the books, she is hired to take care of a paraplegic, and he is planning to commit suicide in a medically practiced way, and she tries to save his life, and then this is following that book. It is sad and beautiful, and it shows great aspects of moving through depression and moving through grief and having your life feel like it's out of control and then taking back that control. So I really liked it, and it was also super cheap from Barnes & Noble because it was on sale, because it had like very slight damage to the pages just from the printing process, but like, who cares? I could still read the book. It was great. Now that was the last printed book which I have, but I actually have 4 books which I left at work, so they're overseas somewhere. So when I go back overseas to continue work with the company I work for, I'll be able to get them. And 3 of them are from the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by, I think, Laini Taylor, I don't know. It's a book which has been very popular over the booktube community, and I've been watching people read it for at least a couple of years, so it's about time that I read that series. So that's a young adult fantasy series. And then there's also another book which is by W. Bruce Cameron, who wrote A Dog's Purpose, and it's called A Dog's Journey. So it is going to be another just, I believe, heartfelt dog love book. So now I have gone through all that. While I was in America for 10 weeks, I got my first 2 Page Habit boxes. Now this is not a promoted box. These are boxes which I got given for Christmas in a subscription from my mother-in-law, who is an absolutely fabulous lady who understands my love of books. So these are my own personal things which I bought myself, but I just wanted to share with you because I think that Page Habit does a really great box. And let's dig in. So I have already had a sneak peek in these boxes because I got home and I was really excited, but I decided I'm not allowed to use anything in this box until I read all of the books which I bought in America, which I'm almost done. I only have 4 left to read, and then I can start diving into these books. So this is what the box looks like. It's small, but it contains a book and some bookish goodies and a short story which is written just for this book. So in here, this is the January book box. So this one was supporting children in Ghana. So with my purchase, it will put money towards children in Ghana in their reading. And it'll also tell me what books in each box there was. I get the literary fiction book box because I love literary fiction, but there's not much reviews and such of that on here on BookTube that I know of. If you know someone who reads literary fiction, please leave them down in the comments because I would love to read more recommendations. But because I know so many like young adults that I like in historical fictions, I thought, how about I just get people to send me books in literary fiction which I love, and then I'll read them and hopefully love them. So in this box we have our little like poster telling us about the box, and then I got these 8 tree-friendly pencils which are really cute. They're like designed like little trees, which as a designer and illustrator I'm sure they're going to get used very quickly. Then it comes with a short story by John Affleck, which is made just for this box, called Immaculate Obsession. So that's going to be a really quick read, which I'll read before I get to the book in this box. And it comes with a letter from the author of the book, a bookmark which is Harry Potter themed, which says, "It is our choices that show what we truly are far more than our abilities." So that's a really cute design. Maybe one day I'll make a bookmark for a book box. That is a dream for me. And then I got this little information slip telling me that this was a present from my mother-in-law, which I already knew, but like it's just great to be reminded that this is a gift to me. And finally, oh, not finally, there was also this metal bookmark which I didn't see before, which is really cute. It has like a little library on it, and it's a little bookmark I can use and put into my books, which I may use, I may not, because I tend to just use my plane tickets as bookmarks and keep them in my books so I know which ones I've read, but it is still really adorable. And now I'll actually get onto the book. The book this month is The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin, and the cover is so beautiful. I want to design a cover just like this one. I might even just try and replicate this cover and give it a go because it is so pretty, and I want to practice being able to do something like this. And as you can see here, this book is fully annotated by the author. So when I read, I get a read through and have all of their extra little input here about like how they were writing it and the symbolism maybe of their characters and everything. So I'm really excited. And that's actually why when I chose a book subscription, because I really wanted a book subscription, that I chose Page Habit because of all the annotations here. And also their support for children in need who love reading. So This is the January box, and I will be reading The Immortals as soon as I actually can. I just have a few more books which I have to read before I get to that point. And even though it is probably going to be April by the time that this video goes up, it is the end of March now, and I haven't gotten my March box yet, but I do have my February box as well. So let's see what's inside of this. So again, we have a beautiful letter by the author, which I really admire that they're in there. I have another bookmark, which is going to be great for this book, which is "Sleep is good," he said, "and books are better." So that's good. That's a quote by George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones series. Again, I have my little ticket telling me that this is my February book box, a little bit about the box, and it's telling me that this month we were helping kids in Ethiopia. And then we have our thicker little short story, which is by Washington Irving, and it's called Rip Van Winkle. So that's going to be another really quick read to get through. I think this is like 44 mini pages, so that's going to be maybe half hour for me. And wow, that's amazing. Have a look. We have this gorgeous beanie, and it has on this little tag, it says a bookworm, and this would have been perfect for when I was in America because I was literally wearing a beanie every single day, but that is beautiful. I think I'll definitely be reading this as soon as I get to cooler weather. At the moment in Australia it's actually really hot, so not the right time, but I love this. And as a final little gift they have in here before I get to the book, it looks like we have little post-it card boxes. So just has like little note pads in here, which I think is going to be great to perhaps annotate books, which is good because I want to annotate my books that I read, but I'm so scared to write in their pages, so maybe this is a good start for me. And again, I am an illustrator and designer, so post-its are always handy to work out my projects. So there's 4 cute little coloured boxes of them. And then finally I'm going to get to this month's book, and it is again literary fiction, and this one is funnily one which I wanted to pick up at the airport but couldn't afford to get with my baggage limit, and it's by Kristen Hanna, and it's called The Great Alone. So I believe that this book is about a war veteran and the story of when they go home, but don't quote me on it. But again, it's a annotated edition. So as soon as I finish the January book, I'll be moving on to this book. Very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to when my March book box comes in and I can actually open it during the month, or like as soon as my box comes in instead of having to wait till I get home. And that will probably be the last book box which I get to open before I go back overseas, and then they just kind of stack up again. So I will have 4 more book boxes coming in my subscription because it's a 6-month subscription. So I will show you guys every single one of them. But I don't know, I really love the idea of getting mail and having a book box and having like a book inside of it that I don't know. It just feels like I'm getting a present every month. So that's why I really wanted it, and I'm so thankful to my mother-in-law for providing it for me. So this is a very long book haul, but we're finally up to our last section, and these are books which I was given by a friend. No particular reason. It wasn't my birthday, it wasn't Christmas. I just came home in the country and she had gotten an oversupply from Book Depository. I think they had sent her books and they never turned up, so she asked for them to send them again, and then both of them turned up, and then she asked if she could return them, and they said because of her honesty that she could keep them, which she didn't know what she was going to do with like double copies of her books. But that's a really nice thing for Book Depository to do, because at least like they're rewarding an honest world, which is what I love. This channel is about honesty and being who you are, so I found that really fantastic. So the 6 books which my friend gave me just because she had them were actually a lot of them on my want to read wish list, even though I'm on a book buying ban. So it was really fantastic for her to provide them for me. So the first one is called Uprooted by Naomi Novik. It's about a village woman who has to serve a king for 10 years. I don't know a lot about this one. This was actually the only one which I hadn't heard of before that my friend gave me, but it looks really beautiful. It looks like it's going to be based around a fairy tale retelling. By the look of it, it looks maybe like Sleeping Beauty, but that is a complete guess just because we have the castle, the rose and the thorns, but like the cover is so pretty, and I really want to read this one, so I'm looking forward to that one. Next book is one which everyone has been recommending, although I can't really stand the cover, but it's called Daughter of the Pirate King, and apparently it is based around the ideas and the series Pirates of the Caribbean, and that is really exciting for me because that's my favourite movie series, so I'm excited to get into it. Apparently we have a really hardcore female protagonist who doesn't take anything from anybody, so I'm really looking forward to getting into a bit of a pirate world. Surprising, this is actually going to be my first pirate book that I'm reading, so that's going to be really good, and you will definitely see once I've read it, which may be a while away, cover redesign for this book, because I don't know, it feels amateurish to me, the cover, and that's probably why I haven't picked up this book before, because being a designer, I know you shouldn't, but I do judge books by their cover and like having a pretty collection. So yeah, so I will be redesigning the cover of this book, but I'm really excited to read it. So many people have said it's really great and recommend picking it up, and it is by Trisha Levenseller. I hope I said that right. The next book is based in a part of America and I haven't actually been to, but my husband has. It's based in New Orleans and it's called Bells. I believe it has some magical realism in this, and it's about the kind of society of New Orleans. I'm excited to read this. Again, I've seen it on BookTube kind of going around. I've heard good and bad things about this book, but I'm ready to make my own opinions of it, so this is a read which will happen some point this year, I hope. Like in the first book from my friend talking about fairy tale retellings, this is a beautiful, beautiful book called The Language of Thorns, Midnight Tales and Dangerous Magic, which is by Leigh Bardugo, and I am really excited for it because if you open this gorgeous book, it has beautiful illustrations like throughout all the stories. I think there is about 5 short stories in here, so I'm really excited to read something like this. I actually studied fairy tales for a while when I was in university, so it'll be really nice to get into some fairy tale like books. And yeah, I kind of fell in love with this cover, so my friend offered it to me. I just said yes because look how pretty it is. Now this next book is actually by a YouTuber which I follow called Sasha Alsberg, and I really like her, and I've kind of followed her journey about writing this book and co-authoring this book, but a lot of people have had mixed opinions on this book, and I feel like a lot of the negative opinions would be warranted, but at the same time I'm willing to give it a go because in a internet sense, getting to know the author and like following her and her journey, I feel like it just deserves a read anyway. So this is my copy of Zenith by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings, and I'm looking forward to reading this because it has a bit of a sci-fi aspect, but I think I'm definitely going to have to be in the mood to read this one because I want to give these girls the respect of reading their book. From what people have been saying, I probably won't pick up the sequel, but it is definitely worth the respect giving an author the duty to read their book, especially if you're like following them. So yeah, this is a book which will be on my TBR at some point. And the final one is another one which I think has had a little bit of mixed reviews, but really like took BookTube by storm I think a couple months ago or whenever it came out, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It is another sort of fairy tale retelling, and I'm excited to get into this one at some point. I'll probably just have a fairy tale month, it looks like, with all the books that I have. I believe this is a book related to Fae, but I don't know a lot about it. I just, again, got gifted this and am looking forward to reading it. So that is my book haul. It's probably going to be the only book haul you guys are going to see, so I'm sorry if you're really into that, but I'm trying to get out of like materialism and commercialism and always buying like every book that's on the shelves. I really want to get my TBR down to 0, and at the moment, including my books which are overseas, is at 54. So I have a lot of books to read to get down to 0, and my goal of just being able to buy a book when I want to read it, or even just going to the library, especially now because I don't have a house. I'm living with roommates and all my bookshelves are full and I don't have room to get more. So buying more books is kind of a really silly thing to do. So anyway, I really hope you enjoy my book haul. If you like or want any of the books, go to the store, go to an independent bookstore and go grab them. And if you've read any of these books, please let me know if you like them. If you want to have more chats about books and everything, go down in the comments, or you can check me out on Instagram. I have 2 Instagram accounts. They will show up at the end of the video and be in the description. You can also go on my website and you can email me if you want to have a chat. If you want, you can subscribe and hit the little bell so you can see all of my videos, and give this a thumbs up if you liked it. So I hope to see you guys in another video soon. I wish you all love and happiness, and have a really good day.